Hi and welcome to this video series. We're talking today about how to upgrade a Centrify Privilege Service on-premises or customer managed instance in high availability mode. And as a little bit of background, CPS can be obtained as a SaaS version and customer managed starting in 2017 7. Um, there's no longer a standalone version, so all deployments have to be high available. And this is done using Windows Failover Clustering. And in this video, I'll walk you through the process of setting the system under maintenance and start the upgrade on one of the nodes. So let's take a look at my environment. I have a Windows cluster and my CPS application onboarded. The current node is member 2. That's my primary node. And look at the dependencies here, right? So if I look at the nodes, here they are, and they're all eligible. If I look at my application, the whole point of this thing is to make sure that it's always on, right? So if I, look at it, it's actually fully functional. If I do an about, notice that I'm running on member 2 here, and we're running on version 17.7.162. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade to another version. We can check functionality, for example, maybe perhaps here where we'll just do an SSH session, and here's the result, right? So it's actually working. So what I'm going to do is the first thing you need to do is always look at the cluster events. If there's been any problems, I personally have been doing a lot of testing, so I'm cool with this, but it's not recommended to ride an unhealthy cluster. So try to keep them very clean. So in this case, I'm going to pick a node to do the upgrade. The first thing you need to do is basically take it out for maintenance. So the best thing is just to pause it and drain the roles. So at this point, this machine is no longer participating in the cluster, but in my design, I have a 3-node cluster, so at least I maintain high availability, even in the case of I'm upgrading member 4, and should anything happen here, I should be golden, right? So let me go ahead and go to that system. This is my node 4 here, and all I need to do is run setup, right? And it'll do the actual installation here. So this is going to be a lengthy one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause here and start the upgrade in other systems, and I'll show you what happens when you're done here and what you do in order to continue with the other ones. So we're going to go ahead and pause and to be able to accelerate time. All right, so those who are familiar with Privilege Service setup in a customer management setting, understand that there's the GUI version of the setup, and then that starts the PowerShell version of the setup. So in this node, notice that it's a secondary node, and it's actually a passive node. Notice that we're starting the PowerShell section. So one of the things that I've done is I've started setup on the other ones as well, so we can actually save time. All right, so notice what happened here. So during setup, the database schema has been updated, right? And notice that it's asking me, is this the last node here? The answer is no, right? Because I have 2 more nodes to upgrade. So I'm going to say no here, and this ends the upgrade here. So the next step is to actually move this service to the node that was just upgraded. So I upgraded member 4. And notice, again, throughout this, I think I launched a putty session, right? We can continue to work, and if I need to, for example, do watch, I can do that. So the idea here is to maintain always on capability. Okay, so now with my system upgraded, I'm going to bring it back to service. So I'm going to resume and do not fail back any roles. This is going to make it eligible again. And I can go back here and move to that node that I upgraded, right? So at that point, the newest upgraded node, and again, one thing that I should have done, I should have checked the application pull status, right? This is an early version, a QA version, so I needed to make sure that first. So I may be a little late, but it's good. IIS. It's always good to do this live so you can see anything that could go different than expected. So yeah, so it was started, so no problem with that. So no expectation of this giving me any trouble. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue the move from that point on. So my next step is to actually take the node that I want to transfer to, I mean that I want to upgrade, take it out of, you know, of maintenance. So I'm going to take member 2 and I'm going to pause it and I'm going to drain the roles, right? And now I can go back to member 2 and I can start my setup process again. So we're going to continue the process and we're going to pause. We're going to finish here in the PowerShell, and it's going to start the PowerShell setup. Again, we could continue to make sure that our system is working as expected. I have the session going on. Let's just say now I want to terminate the session. Terminate it. It's going to kill the program, right? Let's just say I want to go to another system. In this case, I'm going to do an RDP session. So let's go ahead and do an RDP there. And again, since we upgrade, the first node that we upgraded was member 4. So we do about, we're going to be on member 4, right? So that's basically the active node right now, while what used to be the primary node is being upgraded in here. So let's continue and take a look at this, and let's see if I can just do a login. In this case, is a local RDP session to a system. I can look at my dashboard, right? So we're basically emulating that people are using the systems. I have another user too, privilege service user limited. Let's just say let's do a account request. We may be able to do one, and let's request a checkout, right? So we're still using the system, right? This user here should be getting a request. Notice that there's a password checkout request, right? But let's look at our upgrade, right? And notice that this is not the last one, right? So we're going to say no, right? At this point, all we need to do is, again, for sanity, we can check the IIS application pool. Depending on the level of the upgrades, or for Windows update, you may have to restart. So let me do IIS here, and looks like the application pool. You see, notice this one is actually stopped, right? So we want to take a look at that, especially if you have the pre-release versions, right? Now it started this. So this means that I can go back here and bring my system from maintenance, right? And resume it. Do not fail back any roles. But what I want now is to transfer it back to my primary node. That way, the only node that is pending is going to be my last one. So this is going to do a transfer, right? While that transfer is going on, we could go to the final node and put it under maintenance. That's going to be node 3 here, and we're going to drain roles. So member 3 is going to go into maintenance mode, and we're going to go to this machine. I already had run that, so it's going to do the PowerShell piece. But the difference here is that we're going to answer yes. So when this is done, that's going to be the last node in the cluster, and the upgrade is going to be completed. But in the meantime, what did we have going on here? We have our system now. We did the transfer. So again, I'm going to go ahead and let's do an about here. Notice that it's already a member 2. I was in the middle of proving a workflow. So I'm going to do this temporarily for 10 minutes, and we're going to submit it. Right. So notice that it was, we haven't seen any servers interruption here. And if I go back as my other user, I should be able to, if I reload, I should be able now to log in as that user. One thing that I should do is probably log it out, but let's take a look. Has 2 sessions already. So we're going to go ahead and log in. Oh, actually, no, a password checkout was the one that we approved. So we're going to go ahead and do a password checkout. Show password, right? It's not managed at this point. Perhaps a good idea would be for the password to be managed in that system. So let's go ahead and do that. Set it to be managed. We can set to manage. We need to just basically change the policy. So there's a rotation policy. At this point, there's no rotation set up. So we could go to infrastructure, security, right? We're going to do the rotation every 90 days, right? And that should be something that helps us get that done. But again, we are going to see what our upgrade is going on, and we're done. We're going to press yes. This is going to commit the last pieces of the upgrade. But then again, here's what the objective of the video is to show how to upgrade, but also that we're maintaining high availability, right? So, so we could continue here doing our our particular changes. So let me see that account. What I need to do is probably try to rotate the password. And as we can see here, hopefully this guy's going to be done soon. So we're going to pause here and continue when it's done. All right, so it's done, right? I'm going to do the last check on my IIS application pool. All right, and we're going to see that here. All of them are stopped. Most likely here, this system was probably behind on Windows updates. This is good that we're doing this. If I try to start it, it's going to say that the Windows process activation is not done. So we need to reboot the system. And again, many of these updates, actually I signed out, many of these updates have their own dependencies of Windows updates. So let's go ahead and restart. So once the system comes back, we'll be able to, transfer it over to that system and complete our upgrade. So let's go ahead and pause. While we wait for the final system to come up, we can discuss connectors. So connectors, what we need to understand when you're upgrading connectors is that first and foremost, connectors are highly available. As long as you have 2, you have high availability. However, the layout and your design is very important. So when you're looking at system subnet mapping, for example, in my environment, I have 2 connectors serving one subnet. That is fine, but you may have multiple subnets. And not only that, it's possible that you may have systems that have overrides. So you could have a connector override here for a single connector, and this could happen at the domain level or at the database level. This means that you need to identify those, because if you don't have at least 2 connectors, you won't maintain high availability. So the connector gives you a lot of options. For example, if I type proxy here, what you'll see is that as it relates to updates, you can always set up a schedule, right? Depending how critical the system is, and we presume it is in your environment, you want to make sure that your connector upgrades are supervised. Notice that it's actually downloading the update. This will, when it's done, is going to trigger basically a manual update by me. And in that case, we can actually test connectivity. So when this particular system is being updated, right, I lost a connector. So if I needed to, for example, SSH in, I maintain high availability because there's another connector in service, right? While this one is getting upgraded, I maintain high availability. I believe that at this point my system is back up, right? And we're going to complete the upgrade. My apologies, this video has been all over the place, but uh, in this case, basically all we need to do is go back to our nodes and bring this system from maintenance mode, and we're not going to fail any rows back, but we're going to move our service to the last upgraded node, right? And like I said before, we looked at the application pools. Due to Windows Update settings, the system needed to be rebooted, but we rebooted the system, and notice right here that we have transferred it over. A tip here, you could actually monitor using PowerShell. For example, in this case, I can monitor the database service. Notice that it's running here, or the web service as well. But let's go ahead and now refresh here and see and confirm that we have a running system and it has the proper version. And here we have it. And we're going to now do an about, and notice that it's now fully upgraded to 17.9. All the nodes are ready to go. And let's take a look at our activity. Right, if we look at our infrastructure, no active sessions, but again, I closed the one that I had, but ultimately we maintain high availability. Another thing that I would do is probably upgrade my last connector, but as you saw, connectors, they back each other up as long as you have two. So I'm hoping that this helps, and the blog post has pretty much all these steps, but written in screenshot form.